So we are now entering wrap-up season. It's the time of year when organizations are choosing their volunteers of the year. Streaming services are telling us what was most watched and what songs were in heaviest rotation. Newspapers and magazines are sharing retrospectives. And each of us will soon learn what we missed out on or what we were a part of. But what I often find most telling in these year-end roundups is the words of the year chosen by the world's leading dictionaries. So this year's haven't been released yet, but last year's words were doozies. The Merriam-Webster word of the year last year was gaslighting. Psychological manipulation over time that causes the victim to question the validity of their own thoughts, their perception of reality, or their memories, which typically leads to confusion and loss of confidence and self-esteem. And then, not to be outdone, the Oxford Dictionary opened its choice up to the public last year, and the people chose goblin mode. Now, in case you are unfamiliar, to be in goblin mode, or as it's usually termed, to go goblin mode, is to be unapologetically self-indulgent, lazy, and/or slovenly, typically in a way that rejects social norms or expectations. It's that weekend spent on the couch without bathing, eating mindlessly, and watching trash TV. So on the one hand, we have the willful, intentional invalidation of our lived experience, and on the other, a reactionary response to being asked over and over to do too much and to present ourselves in a narrowly defined, socially acceptable manner. The pulse of life is beating in each and every one of us, writes my colleague Jennifer Johnson. Amidst the clamor of these times, let us heed its sure and steady rhythm. How? To do that, we would need to stop and listen, and somehow it feels like we can't stop because there's work to be done. There are gifts to buy and parties to plan. The end of semester deadlines are crashing down around us, and our bosses are encouraging us to finish the year strong. And oh no, when are we gonna decorate? The cards are definitely going to be late again this year. But our fellow critters are listening to the pulse of life. They're preparing to migrate or hibernate, or at least have enjoyed their rich food and are now settling in for a slower paced winter. You cannot gaslight a squirrel, nor do they push themselves to the point where not grooming is an option. They know that the days are getting shorter and colder, and consequently, they slow their activities and cuddle up with their families and reserve their furious activity for springtime. It seems that somehow modern American humans have forgotten that this is supposed to be a fallow time of year. We continue to strive, to grind, to work hard, and we've yoked the concept of self-work to the idea of productivity, and uncoupling them seems unthinkable. To choose to let things go undone would be lazy. And what would people think? We live with this perpetual sense of urgency. Anything less is wasting time and offers the potential for missed opportunities. The pulse of life calls us to nourish our bodies with good food and movement, to nourish our spirits with art and with song, friendship and tenderness, and quiet. We know this is true. We, humanity, have been calling each other back to this natural rhythm throughout the ages through our spiritual practices. All of our sources point to this need for rest and renewal. The religions of the East have meditative practices built in as essential. All the Abrahamic faiths advocate for a Sabbath and regular prayer. And the earth-centered traditions, both indigenous and neo-pagan, listen to these cycles of nature and call us to slow down and reflect during the short days and long nights. Our humanists suggest that we be guided by reason and science, and well, the science is pretty clear. Too little rest and too much stress lead to a host of modern ailments for which we take medications so that we can keep up the pace. But our first source, the direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life, can feel almost inaccessible in the hurried frenzy of our modern world. So let me then applaud all of you for being here this morning. Whether online or in person, you understand the value of time set apart from the hustle of daily life. Gathering for worship gives us a chance to experience not doing, not pushing, not striving for just a little while. It connects us to this pattern of action and rest, productivity and renewal that pulses through the natural world. Finding this rhythm in our daily life, setting aside some time each day to renew our spirits, can sustain these gifts of our worship time together throughout the whole week. When I began to practice yoga in college, my first teacher told me that I did not have to set goals or strive for perfection. I wasn't sure what she meant. I was there because I wanted to be able to contort my body in impressive ways, maybe to eventually do a handstand. She said, as long as my practice was consistent and sincere, I would see progress. My body would become stronger, more flexible, and better balanced. I didn't realize when I started that I was also training my mind in those same disciplines. Practice that was consistent and sincere would yield a type of success that was not tethered to any particular outcome or performance of a specific posture. Being consistent meant that I had to roll out the mat and do at least a few poses every day. Being sincere meant being entirely present, mindfully focused on what I was doing in the moment. And so for a few minutes each morning, my mind and body practice. And the gifts I have received over these 30 years are nothing I could have imagined. I have found my body to be sacred space. I have found increased focus throughout my day. I have learned to be open to unexpected results in encounters with others. I've learned to just listen a little bit better to the pulse of life as it tells me what to do and what I need to not do. Now, yoga may not be the right thing for you, but ask yourself, what renews your spirit? Perhaps practicing an instrument or singing, maybe creating some form of art or doing a craft is more of your style. Spending time in nature may feed you. And for some, The traditional practices of daily prayer or meditation or ritual are exactly what is needed. Your restorative practice is just that. It is your practice. And as long as your practice is consistent and sincere, you too will see progress. And science backs religion on this. Regular restorative practice lowers rates of heart disease, reduces hypertension, lessens the effects of autoimmune diseases, and improves our mental health. Consistently taking the time to stop, to renew, allows us to turn off the autopilot. We become aware of how our bodies and minds are responding to things that we habitually do, and we gain the energy and focus we need to make changes where necessary. As social creatures, these transformations do not just benefit us. When we slow down long enough to see what we need, we also gain a clearer vision of what is needed to nurture and sustain our relationships. We notice that look that passed across our loved one's face, the one that says what we just said was hurtful. And in that observation, we're given the opportunity to show them our love by saying, I'm sorry, and changing our behavior. And we also begin to recognize what is most life-giving in our connections so that we can build more of those activities into our lives. Increasing our self-awareness leads to the deepening of our relationships and the strengthening of our communities. It lures us toward the skills we need to live into the potential of our covenant. And, there's always an and, when we find stillness, occasionally we find that less than wonderful feelings are hiding under that flurry of activity and busyness. The more consistently we practice, the better we are at staying with these experiences and learning what they have to teach us. We increase our tolerance for discomfort as we embrace needed change. We become more aware of our societal conditioning and the ways in which each of us may have internalized misogyny and homophobia and white supremacy and classist elitism. In other words, we increase our capacity and our resilience to do the work of social justice when we pause, when we practice, when we are consistent and sincere. For all these benefits, can we not find 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes, perhaps even 20 minutes, to rest and renew ourselves? Just a few moments each day to stop and be still, set down all the doing and just be. To check in and take inventory of our souls, to allow us to heed the sure and steady rhythm of the pulse of life. In case you are unsure where to start, I will leave you with this morning with the Buddhist practice of loving kindness meditation. In this practice, we begin in our natural state of wishing good things for ourselves. The mantras are, may I be filled with loving kindness, may I be well, may I be peaceful and at ease, may I be whole. And then this prayer is offered to others, beginning with those closest to us, those for whom we hold the deepest affection. The circle of blessing is then extended to include those that we may not know so well, and even toward those whom those toward whom we harbor animosity. We continue to extend our desire for all good things for the community, for the nation, and for the world, until all the universe is engulfed in peace and wholeness. One last time, let's practice together now. I invite you again to relax and quiet your mind. Find a comfortable posture. You may wish to close your eyes. Allow your shoulders to fall away from your ears. Release any held tension in your body. Breathe and listen to the mantras. Allow the blessings to fill your heart. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole. My spiritual companions, may these blessings flow out through us to the world. Blessed be.